Rejection, the one thing we all know, and the one that most of us flee from. Whether you are who you think you are, how confident you believe you've grown, or how much accomplishment you've known, the bite of rejection can pierce through it all, waking you up at night, reliving moments you wished had unfolded differently. That position you believed was yours, that individual you believed would agree, that chance you thought had your name on it, and then, poof, nothing. But here is the hard truth nobody ever discusses. Rejection isn't the end of your story, it is the start of a new one. The very hurt you are desperate to escape has the ability to mold you, change you, and open doors you never knew were there. But most people never reach that point. Why? Because they quit at the hurt. They accept the lie that rejection is evidence they're not adequate. But what if rejection weren't that it made you less? What if it were that it had redirected you? What if each and every no you've ever received hid within it a hidden lesson meant to nudge you toward a greater version of yourself? That is where the 13 brutal truths come in. They aren't pleasant. They aren't pleasant. But they will shift how you perceive rejection for the rest of your life. The first thing that is true is this. Rejection's inevitable. You can't escape it. You can play it safe. Never ask. Never try. Never admit your feelings. But then you are not escaping rejection. You are living it, because avoiding risks just another way of rejecting yourself. Each time you mute your voice, you are saying no to yourself before the world even does. And that is so much worse than someone else saying no to you. The second truth. Rejection is not about you, at least not the way you think it is. When you are rejected, your mind yells, I am not enough. But what if the timing wasn't right? What if the other person's vision wasn't aligned with yours? What if the opportunity wasn't aligned with the person you are becoming? People don't have eyes to see your full value. They look through their own prism of fear, their own desire, their own limitation, and occasionally their no is all about them and hardly anything about you. But still, the hurt feels so personal. And here is the third truth. Rejection hurts because it pierces the deepest hunger we all have, the hunger to belong. We hunger for acceptance as much as we need oxygen. We yearn to be chosen, noticed, and appreciated. So when someone says no, it is like they're saying, you don't count. But that is not true. You do count. Rejection isn't evidence that you don't count. It is evidence that life is nudging you in a different direction. The fourth truth goes deeper still. Rejection is reflective. It reflects you back to the parts of yourself you have been trying to avoid. Perhaps you were not ready. Perhaps you were too dependent upon someone else's validation. Perhaps you had invested your self-worth in one result. Rejection strips it all away. Rejection makes you stand before your weaknesses, your fears, your blind spots. And yes, that hurts. But is that also where growth starts? You can't change what you won't see, and rejection ensures that you do see it. But here is the fifth truth, the one that differentiates those who break from those who rise. Rejection is redirection. Each closed door opens you up to another one. Each no makes room for an even larger yes. The relationship that didn't work out leaves space for one that will honor you completely. The position that didn't hire you puts you in place for the one that will fan your flames. The door that closed on you encourages you to open your own. But most are too busy looking at the shutting door to see the one swinging wide open. I know what you are thinking. That is easy to say when you are looking back. But what if it were happening now? What about when the rejection is new, when the wound is still fresh? That is where the sixth truth comes in. Rejection is fuel. The same flame that incinerates you can be the flame that ignites you. Some of history's greatest breakthroughs were conceived through rejection. Imagine the writers whose manuscripts were rejected, the business people who were laughed out of meetings, the creatives who were told they weren't good enough. Their secret wasn't that they didn't get rejected. Their secret was that they leveraged it. They allowed the hurt to cut them, to motivate them, to propel them to prove everyone wrong. Not for revenge, but for change. And that leads us to the seventh truth. Rejection builds resilience. Each time you encounter it and keep going, you build thicker skin. You no longer view rejection as the world coming to an end, but view it as process. You know you can live with disappointment, that you can live with failure, that you can get back up after being knocked down. And with every rejection, fear of the next gets smaller. You come to understand that rejection doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. Perhaps you have been carrying around rejections from years past, ones that still echo in the recesses of your mind when you try to move ahead. That brings us to the eighth truth. Rejection only tells you who you are if you allow it. Too many people get stuck in their lives at a single instance of rejection. The no defines them. They never attempt again. But what if that rejection was merely one page of a much larger book? Would you let one page tell the entire story? Or would you turn the page to see what comes next? Rejection presents a decision. Do you let it shatter you or construct you? Do you pull back or do you emerge? And perhaps, rejection is the greatest present life can bestow on you, because without it, you'll never know what you're really made of. Without it, you'll never be challenged to expand beyond your comfort zone. Without it, you'll never be compelled to seek the inner strength that jumps to life when the world tells you no. Is it something you're ready to confront? Because in the next part, we're going deeper into the truths most people refuse to accept, the ones that sting the most, but transform the fastest. And once you see them, you can never unsee them. Rejection doesn't only hurt your pride, it attacks your identity. When someone says no, when life closes a door on your face, it rattles the foundation you've constructed around yourself. That is where the ninth brutal truth about rejection starts to unravel. Rejection shows you who you think you are and who you really are. It peels away the masks. It makes you look at whether your confidence stems from the validation of others or the power you've created inside. If you fall apart in the face of rejection, you're not weak. You've been relying too much on approval and realizing that is worth its weight in gold. Because the 10th truth comes closely after, rejection compels reinvention. You might feel sure of what you want, but rejection will inevitably ask, is there really only one way to proceed? Perhaps that job wasn't for you, but perhaps that no ignites the spark to create your own company. Perhaps that relationship didn't work, but perhaps that hurt drives you to cultivate areas within yourself that you've left behind. The biggest changes do not arrive in times of ease. They arrive after rejection has forced us to reimagine who we are and what we can do. But here is where most people get stuck. They fight the reinvention. They hold on to the loss, reliving it over and over again in their heads. That is why the 11th truth about rejection is so difficult to swallow. Rejection requires you to release control. You can't control who says yes to you. You can't control who values your work, who loves you back, who sees your potential. You can only control what you do with the rejection. And isn't that freeing, in a way? Because when you stop trying to control everything outside of you, you can finally take full responsibility for the one thing that you do control, yourself. Rejection is a test of surrender, an experiment in faith. And that is where the 12th truth enters. Rejection is not a wall. Rejection is a compass. It points you, it guides you. It indicates where not to go so that you can discover where you should go. Consider how many times in your life you were so hungry for something you believed you needed, only to later find out that it would have destroyed you. You believed that relationship was ideal until you watched how poisonous it really was. You believed that opportunity was everything until you knew it would have kept you tiny. Rejection is life's method of nudging you toward alignment, even when you're blind to it in the moment. And yet, despite all these truths, there is one last one that cuts deepest. The 13th truth: reject. No matter how big you get, no matter how great your success, no matter how many people are cheering for you, there will always be more rejection, more critics, more shut doors, more people who don't get you. And that is all right, because rejection isn't the enemy. It is the friend walking beside you on the path to greatness. It is the reminder you're still risking, still striving, still daring. The only individuals who cease to encounter rejection are those who cease to live. But hold on, let's take a pause. Reflect on your own history. Can you think of a time when rejection defeated you? When you thought it was all done? When you thought nothing good would come out of it? And now, in hindsight, can you see what you learned from it? Can you see the strength it drew out of you, the guidance it provided you with, the change it initiated? That is the true tale of rejection. And that is the paradox. The more you accept rejection, the less it dominates you. The more you walk into it, the more you become powerful. Rejection becomes no longer a prison, but a passport, marking your journey from one lesson to another, each one leading you closer to the individual you are supposed to be. That is the core of transformation. That is why rejection is not something to dread, but something to admire. Because rejection is the fire, and what emerges from fire, gold, stronger, purified, refined. But don't mistake this for a quick fix. Understanding rejection isn't about snapping your fingers and suddenly feeling no pain. It's about learning to sit with the sting without letting it define you. It's about using the hurt to sharpen your vision. It's about realizing that every rejection is a stepping stone on the path to resilience, courage, and ultimately freedom. And that is where we're going, because now, as we move on, we're not talking merely about truths in theory. We're going into stories, into actual experiences, into the kind of unedited lessons that make these truths living realities. So is the question, are you prepared to stop fearing rejection and begin applying it? Because in the next part, we're going deeper into the lived experiences that prove rejection isn't a curse. It's the greatest teacher you'll ever have. Rejection does not shut doors. It educates you on how to open new ones. That is the unobtrusive lesson hidden within the pain. When you are rejected, when you are told that harsh no, your initial reaction is to quit, to draw back, never to attempt again. But this is the reality. Rejection is a call for growth in directions you wouldn't have selected otherwise. Consider moments in your life when rejection pushed you to redirect. Perhaps you didn't get the job, so you acquired new skills. And those new skills led you to an open door you never even noticed. Perhaps someone left your life, and within that vacated space you found strength you weren't aware you possessed. Rejection carves out space within you, space for understanding, space for strength, space for a wiser version of yourself to come through. But you'll miss out on that growth if you view rejection as a wall, because walls are not going anywhere. Rejection is. It is a detour sign, a redirect. And occasionally the detour will take you to places a lot better than the straight line you were so anxious to remain on. Here is another tough reality. Rejection humbles you. It takes away pride. It reminds you that you don't control everything, that you are not owed every chance or every person's heart. And in that humility, freedom exists. Because when you stop insisting that the world conform to you, you begin to see the opportunities concealed in every turn. The Stoics would tell you that rejection indicates your attachments. If you are broken by one person's no, perhaps you put too much of your value in their hands. If one opportunity not panning out breaks your heart, perhaps you assumed that your future hung on it. Rejection instructs you to let go, to quit holding on, to put your sense of value in something greater, something nobody else can remove from you. And that is where the transformation starts. When you quit looking at rejection as evidence of your weakness and begin to look at it as evidence of your bravery, because courage is not the lack of rejection. Courage is being willing to experience rejection over and over again without it breaking you. So the next time rejection comes, and it will, don't ask, why me? Ask, what now? Because that's the moment rejection stops being an ending and starts becoming the beginning of something new. Rejection doesn't only hurt when it happens, it lasts. It plays over and over again in your head when you are alone, ringing in the emptiness, making you question everything about you. That is the secret brutality of rejection. It makes you your own critic. You repeat the no on a broken record until you start to think that the lies it tells are true. You are not good enough. You'll never succeed. Nobody wants you. But here is the thing you don't get initially. Those echoes aren't the fault of rejection. They're yours. The rejection took place once, but you are the one perpetuating it. You are the one nourishing it. The Stoics wrote that pain is inevitable, but suffering is not. Rejection stings when it occurs, but suffering is when you allow it to become a defining part of your existence long after it has left you. That is why it is more important to know how to react than to avoid the rejection itself. If you view rejection as the end, it is a chain that drags you down. But if you view it as information, as feedback, it is fuel. It says, this path didn't work. That person wasn't right. This door is closed, but another is waiting. Rejection becomes direction instead of punishment. And here is the paradox. Occasionally, the rejection you loathe most is the rejection that will save you. Consider the job you didn't receive, the relationship that failed, the opportunity that got away. In the moment, it seemed like the worst possible thing that could have happened. But subsequently you appreciated that rejection kept you from traveling down a road that would have annihilated you. It forced you to grow, to stretch, to become more than you thought possible. The most successful people aren't the ones who avoided rejection. They're the ones who welcomed it, who treated each no as a stepping stone. Thomas Edison failed thousands of times before creating a working light bulb. J.K. Rowling was turned down by multiple publishers before Harry Potter became a phenomenon. Michael Jordan was once dismissed from his high school basketball team to go on and become one of the best athletes in history. What separated them wasn't the fact that they were not rejected. It was that they learned to benefit from it. This is the thing nobody tells you. Rejection does not make you smaller. It makes you bigger. It tells you what you are made of. It tests whether your dreams are resilient enough to endure disappointment. If they are, no amount of rejection can deter you. If they aren't, the rejection will shatter you. Either way, you get the truth, and perhaps that is what we're most afraid of, because rejection makes us look in the mirror and face the truth of our devotion. Do we want this? Are we ready to hear no 100 times to earn one yes? Are we ready to get back up when the world continues to knock us down? If you are willing to take the sting, to learn from it, to grow through it, then rejection is no longer your adversary. It is your greatest strength. The very thing that you used to fear is now the thing that makes you someone who can't be stopped. So the next time somebody says no to you, don't cower away. Don't let the reverberations stay with you. Tell yourself, this isn't the end of me. This is the start of something better. Because rejection is not strong enough to break you unless you give it the strength. And why on earth would you, when you've traveled so far? Rejection is a flame. It burns, it scars, it leaves you exposed. But fire isn't just devastation, it is transformation. And when you take a close look, you'll notice that each rejection you've experienced has been molding you, defining you, burning away what you didn't need so that the best of you is all that remains. The brutal reality is this: rejection will never depart from your life. No matter where you are, no matter how successful you are, no matter how respected you become, rejection will always be possible. A door will shut, a person will leave, a critic will mock. But if you've learned something by now, it is this: rejection is not evidence that you failed, but it is the proof that you are still in the game. Those individuals who never have to endure rejection are the ones who gave up trying, gave up risking, gave up living. And isn't that the true tragedy? To live so cautiously that you never risk hearing no. To reject rejection is to reject growth. The Stoics understood this. Marcus Aurelius put it this way: the obstacle is the way. Rejection is that obstacle, not to block you, but to reveal a new way forward. Reflect on your own experience. How many rejections have you weathered? How many times did you reflect on it as the end, only to find out later that it was the start? All the rejections you've ever faced have led you to this point, to this moment, wiser than you ever were. So now you are at a decision. You can go on fearing rejection, fleeing from it, cowering in its presence, or you can take it in. You can invite it in as a teacher, a mentor, a fire, because the reality is, rejection is not here to destroy you. It is here to change you. Each no holds the seed of a bigger yes. Each closed door conceals a better door yet to be opened. Each hurt you experience today is making you strong enough for what you'll be needing tomorrow. Let rejection come. Let it challenge you. Let it purify you. And when it does, smile. Not because you take delight in the hurt, but because you know the process. You are not being destroyed. You are being reborn. And that is the greatest transformation of all.